Welcome to PlotLines, where we'll use our over 30 years of experience in real estate communications to uncover the real stories behind real estate. I'm Heather Crowell.
And I'm Britni Ackrivo. Dive in with us as we invite guests to break down the ever-changing landscapes of real estate together. Welcome to PlotLines. We're so excited to be kicking off our podcast about reshifting and recasting narratives in the real estate industry. Today, we'll be talking about ourselves, your co-hosts, and tell you a little bit about why we started this podcast. My name is Britni Ackrivo. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Gregory FCA. I've been with the agency for 10 years, leading and growing our award-winning real estate vertical. I'm joined by my co-host, Heather Crowell. Heather, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your journey and how you got started in real estate?
Sure. So excited to be here. I think we've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm glad we're getting it off the ground. So I've been here only 2 years. You've been here a lot longer. But prior to this, I was in-house at a commercial real estate company in the retail space. Prior to that, I was actually at an office real estate company for about 2 years. My journey started in college. I was a finance major. And my senior year, I had to take a class, and I didn't want to take one of the classes, so I took real estate finance, and I loved it. So everything fell into place, which was probably a good thing because I was a senior and I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. And then from there on, my passion has sort of been real estate. I started off in real estate in the asset management space, so sort of on the budgeting, forecast, landlord risk adjustment side of things. And from there, kind of moved on to an investor relations, communications, marketing role, which really, not everybody gets a chance to pivot in their career, but I really sort of, found my groove there and really loved it. So I'm here. I do oversee all of our investor relations, which covers multiple verticals, but real estate, it really is my passion. So, I think you mentioned it a little bit, but, you've been here for 10 years and you have grown the vertical, and Britni's a little bit modest when she says that that the team is award winning, but she herself has won some awards, which we're all very proud of here. And I'm just wondering, can you share with us, part of what keeps you motivated and what you've learned along the way?
Yeah. Thanks, Heather. So I would say that I didn't start my career in real estate public relations as traditionally as you did. Came to Gregory FCA. The real estate department was just looking for someone to join at the time, and that was how I got my start. But I think what I love about real estate so much, and what has really kept me motivated and wanting to stay in the industry over the years, is how tangible it is. Yeah. So we have such a great opportunity with the clients we work with here to be part of their developments from the moment they're breaking ground to the moment that they're opening. And that has been such a really rewarding piece of the career that myself and my team members and Greg, our CEO, who's incredibly passionate about real estate, to be able to see that growth and say that we were part of the storytelling is huge. And that's really why, or part of the reason that we started this podcast, is we've had a really unique opportunity to work with so many developers here in the greater Philadelphia market, but nationally as well, to help them recast their narratives, whether that's with the community or with press, to really refine their messaging and tell their stories and sort of keep shaping the way people live, work, and play, and why that's so important in today's market.
I think it's actually interesting. You just brought up a good point that we sort of reshape narratives, and real estate developers and owners reshape their properties, right? So that to me is also the reason that I'm so passionate about real estate. I think it's so fun to watch something go from dirt to a building that ends up, serving tenants. And honestly, from the financial side, it was always so tangible to me as well. It was like, okay, here's a building, people pay rent, we get a return.
It makes sense.
It makes total sense. Yeah. So I think I also, one of the things I've loved over my career is redevelopment, and it's one of my favorite things, in helping clients raise capital for those redevelopments, and to really shift their portfolios. I think whether that's through acquisition, disposition, or redevelopment, there's just so many opportunities. And I think one of the things that is fun about this podcast, or is going to be fun, is that the ability to change sentiment is difficult, right? So the media and investors have, a bit of they suffer from groupthink, right?
Sure.
So I'm curious, in your time here, right? You've worked with a lot of real estate clients. What has been like the hardest narrative to overcome? I'm biased. I worked in retail, so I'm curious what you think has been the toughest one, whether it's a specific project or an industry overall.
Yeah. Well, we've touched so many different verticals. I think you hit the nail on the head. Retail, of course, as everyone knows, has been a challenging one over the past few years. Certainly since the pandemic, the office market has taken quite a hit. But it's been so rewarding to be able to work with our clients who do develop office and see the conversions and the amazing things that they're doing with these quote unquote underperforming assets to transform them into new places for people to live, work, thrive. But I think that's just one example. We also represent a lot of companies in the industrial space, and that's where it gets really interesting. It's more than just about the narratives in the press, but there's so many communities out there saying, we don't want this in our backyard, despite there being such a demand for industrial and manufacturing, and it's so widely supported by the government and local townships and the economy. But it's ironic that on the community side, there's still such a resistance to having that type of market in their backyard. Right.
So what have you, like, I know you've actually, and your team have worked on a few of those projects without naming names. Can you talk specifically about how you guys have gotten over that hump in some communities? Because I know you have had great success, and that's actually how we were introduced when I was in-house and we were looking to get a project sort of unstuck. So I know you guys came in with some great case studies. So just tell us and our viewers how you guys do that.
Well, so media is just one piece of the puzzle, right? And we're going to be focusing really heavily in this podcast about the narratives that the press are telling and giving our clients and other guests a platform to really reshape that, right? And giving them a moment to talk about their perspective on things that are happening. But again, press is just one piece. I mean, we help our clients reshape that narrative in the community as well. So that's staying in front of your neighbors. That's doing regular presentations, being transparent. That's being on social media. That's inviting them to the conversation, inviting them to the table to have a say in the development or a say in how it's going to impact community partners and neighborhoods and future generations. So we really sit at a unique place to be able to help clients and partners do that. And that's why I'm so excited about this podcast, because I think some of our guests are going to come on here and be really passionate about maybe rebuttaling what they're seeing in the media, right? Because we're also consumed by that. But I think that the community and local audiences are really important here as well. And we see this all the time where developers are just feeling stuck because maybe they can't get the approvals that they need on their project. And it comes down to the message, right? How is this going to impact the community? How's it going to boost the economy? And we really help them package that and tell it in a different way. So, I'm really excited to do this with you and be able to give people a platform to talk about it in a different way and hopefully very openly and transparently. I know that's our goal here.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's really exciting. I think one of the sectors I know you and I, we've talked about a lot, that actually, gets a lot of positive headlines, but recently has had some negativity, mostly from sort of a supply demand perspective, is multifamily. What are you and your team seeing as sort of what the media are interested in talking about, right? Not just, from a supply demand perspective, but is there anything else that they're talking about? At lunch today when we were sitting with our teams, everybody was talking about looking for new apartments, ironically. I think, it's just kind of, it's front and center, and there's all this conversation about, lack of affordable housing. So what are you and your clients and your team seeing as the narratives around multifamily?
Multifamily is really interesting, right? I think it continues to be sort of the real estate darling. And at the end of the day, everyone still talks about what a stable investment opportunity it is, right? And so I think everyone still feels really confident in multifamily, that it's strong, that it's resilient. But you're right, from the consumer perspective, ironic that we're talking today about the lack of affordability, even the lack of product. Obviously, there's been so many construction and labor delays, and that's really put new development on pause. But what's really interesting, too, is the conversations that are happening on the single-family residential side, right? With this current settlement being negotiated with the National Association of Realtors. Really curious to see how that plays out because it's going to really shift things for not only buyers and sellers, but also realtors, right? And what that means. So ironically, we've seen more appetite even recently in clients wanting us to help them just get out there about the value of realtors, why they're still needed. But I'm really curious to see how that's going to shake out. And I think it'll be really interesting. But Heather, I'm curious too, you work here at Gregory FCA specifically on our investor relations. We work really closely, obviously, with all of our real estate accounts. But what are you hearing from the investment community? What's important to them right now?
Yeah, I think there's an acceptance out there that that public real estate is undervalued. At the same time, we've seen, I know together, you and I have sat on a lot of calls with, private capital raising companies that are real estate investors that are looking to raise capital. And what they want to do is raise their profile, right? They say, we have this great track record. We get, double-digit IRRs, which the world needs to know about. Because right now, with interest rates, so high and possibly now kind of staying higher, there's this yield discussion with, if I can put my money in bonds, do I really need to take riskier investments? So a lot of the real estate players, especially on the private side, the developers are out there, saying, I can actually give you a better return, but I need your capital, right? I need capital coming in so I can do the development. And on the public side, I think, the companies are getting a little bit of a break right now, but they're really getting a little tired of the wait and see mentality, because on the private side, the valuations have held up, and on the public side, they've just been getting dinged for years.
Yeah. Well, I know we're excited to have both a variety of guests, right? From all the sectors that we just talked about, multifamily, industrial, retail, office. There's so many different ways we can go, but also private and public companies to get their perspective on things like financing and hot investments in markets and things like that. But what else are you looking forward to about kicking off this podcast?
I mean, I think we're both, hopefully it's come through that we're both passionate about real estate, and I'm looking forward to just meeting people with new perspectives. I think one of the things that has captivated me in real estate is sometimes the developers or the owner's vision for a property. I work with a few private developers right now, and they'll just talk about a piece of dirt and how they transform it into this mixed use community. And that's always been such a fun thing when you see a rendering, right? It's just a picture of a property, and then it comes to life and it looks exactly the same, and you're like, no way, did it really? Did that really happen? So I think I'm really curious to hear, some of the leading voices in real estate talk about transformation, right? We saw it in retail, where most retail centers you just shopped at, and then they added dining and entertainment, and now there's multifamily being built and healthcare and fitness. So we saw that, and you talked about on the office side as well. Office to apartment conversions. I want to hear about those. Life sciences kind of hit a peak and then slowed down a little bit. Where are those conversions happening? Where are they successful, right? So I'm excited to dive into all of that. And then even lodging, right? It came back with a vengeance after the pandemic. It may or may not have slowed. I don't know. It depends on which headline you read. So I'm really interested in having people that really have their ears to the whatever, I don't even know, their
boots to the ground.
Boots on the ground, understanding what's really happening, because I think it's hard for companies to get that real message out there, because like I said, there's this group think, there's this, nobody goes into the office. Well, look, here we all are in our office. And even if we come in 4 days a week, we need office space. So
Absolutely.
That's just this, I saw it in retail, right? Where everyone's going to shop online. There's going to be no need for retail. And then what happened? it took 6 months to get a roll of toilet paper. So I think people, start to understand that sometimes it's just easier and more effective to do things in person. And real estate is about being in person.
Yeah.
And doing things in person.
Yeah.
So.
And making connections.
Yeah. What are you excited about? Like which types of guests are you most excited about?
That's a great question. I think that, again,
in fairness, we welcome you all to be our guests.
Yeah, I think the obvious sectors, like you said, right, are going to be interesting just to hear different perspectives on the office, on the retail and the industrial. But what I'm excited about is to get some sort of unconventional guests too.
Yeah.
Like we didn't touch on technology.
Right.
I mean, there's so many prop tech companies out there also trying to cut through the noise. And be part of these different real estate verticals and find their own way in.
And real estate's been historically slow to adopt any new technology.
And it's interesting to see, of course, with AI coming into the picture. Again, like you said, real estate has kind of lagged behind, but I think there are going to be a lot of players that we invite on who give that perspective as well, right? And it'll be interesting to see how what they're doing from a tech perspective helps to keep these different verticals evolving and growing and changing. I'm really excited to do this with you. We hope that our guests really can come on and feel comfortable in a very low pressure setting, talking about what they're seeing and just sharing their perspectives on the narratives that are out there, the narratives that they want to tell, and how their companies fit into the real estate that we're going to see in the next few years.
And what are the nuances that we all need to understand to better predict the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, it's going to be so fun.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
Yeah, me too. We're so excited to be launching PlotLines, and we hope you'll stay tuned for our first guest. If you'd like to be a guest, feel free to contact us or get in touch with me or Heather.